Welcome to our book discussion or basically my book review on the book called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion by Dr. Robert Cialdini, one of the single most influential books I've ever read in my business career. This book, if you are in a sales position, you have a sales job, it's going to be tough to find a better sales book or sales manual than Influence. This is a direct manual on how to be influential. And we're going to read another book as a group together called How to Win Friends and Influence People. We're going to read that together, and that classic book. But this right here, this book was written by a social psychologist, and it's just got some incredible nuggets in here. So I'm just going to dig on in, and there may or may not be some people joining us on this call. And if not, hey, you know what? No big deal. I'm going to provide you guys with some big time nuggets. So here we go. I'm going to be reading some of my notes that I've got typed up, and I'm going to be kind of going through the pages themselves. I've got the revised edition, so I'll be referencing page numbers and things. So here we go. So I've kind of already prefaced it. I've kind of already given you the background of what to expect. According to Dr. Robert Cialdini, there are six laws of influence, and we're going to be going through all of them one by one, piece by piece, breaking them down. And it's probably going to take me about 30 minutes to get through this stuff. So I hope you guys are going to stay entertained, and I hope there's going to be some great information that you're going to take away from this. I highly recommend you get the book. Highly recommend that you read it. It is a little bit of a dry read because it's psychology. Dr. Cialdini cites tons and tons of studies in this book. As a matter of fact, there are about 20 pages worth of notes and more than that, notes and bibliography going from page 281 to page 309. So you're talking about 30 pages of notes and bibliography. So that's how many different studies and different authors and things he has cited. I just got the book Persuasion. I'll be reading that soon, that Cialdini wrote. And it's not quite, but it's almost half the freaking book. It's like 100 pages of notes and bibliography in that book. So I think it's like a 300-page book. Maybe it's a quarter of it. 100 pages are devoted to, it's 400 total pages, 300 pages of content. 100 are devoted just to the notes. So anyway, the point is it's a little bit dry of a read just because he's citing so many studies. Some of it is really interesting and really just totally riveting. Some of it's a little bit dry. Not going to lie. So here we go. We're going to go through the 6 laws of influence, and we're going to go through reciprocity or reciprocation, commitment and consistency, social proof, liking, authority, and scarcity. Those are the 6. We're going to go through them one by one. Dr. Cialdini writes in the intro that though this is awesome, this is a great way to set the tone for this book. Those who don't know how to get people to say yes fall away. Those who do stay and flourish. If you don't know how to get people to say yes, you will no longer exist in your business. If it's a sales business, I'm particularly into real estate. I know a lot of you guys who watch this channel are into real estate or listen to this channel. You're doing real estate. So I get it. You're in sales. I don't care if you're trying to get someone to accept your low cash offer. It is a sales position. You have to study sales. You have to study psychology, and you have to know how to get people to say yes. Because if you don't, you are going to fall away. And if you can learn that skill, you will stay in the business and flourish. So here we go. Reciprocation reciprocity, reciprocation. The way the subtitle to the chapter reads, give and take, and take, and take, and take. So reciprocity is, he defines it, Cialdini defines it as trying to repay in kind what another person has provided us. So it's almost like we are obligated to a future repayment, is what he writes on page 17. Page 21, awesome strength in this rule that forces someone to say yes when they otherwise surely would have said no. So what that means in particular, going to page 34, small first favors often stimulate larger return favors. In order to relieve, and this is the whole point of the entire rule, in order to relieve ourselves of the psychological burden of debt. So when someone does something for you, we tend to feel a psychological burden of indebtedness. We are now, like, if someone, I use this example a lot, if someone holds the door open for you, I always think of like the restaurant where there's like a vestibule area, there's like a middle area, you open a door and there's like a little vestibule, and then there's a second door. How often, especially in the South, how often is it someone holds the door open for you and then you go in the next one, you open that door for them? It's like we don't want to feel that psychological burden of debt. Anytime someone offers us something, we feel the need to repay it. So I'm just going to tell you guys, I've almost made like an entire real estate career out of this one rule. This is my favorite because someone asked Cialdini recently, I was watching an interview with him. Someone asked him recently, what's the best law of influence? There's 6. What's the best? And Cialdini responded, there is really no best. It's whichever ones come most natural to you. So for me, reciprocity comes most natural to me because I just have a natural tendency to give. And Adam Grant wrote a phenomenal book called Give and Take that I've read. I'm going to do a review on. I read that earlier this year. I'm going to do a review on that. I'm actually quoting that in a book I'm writing. I've quoted that a few times. But for me, I just naturally love to give and to be a giver. And what ends up happening when you are a giver and you give without the expectation of receiving in return is people are naturally going to give back. And Cialdini writes it this way: small first favors often stimulate larger return favors. Small first favors often stimulate larger return favors. That's on page 34. Guys, I've seen it in my own life. When I give something to someone, it's almost like they feel this indebtedness. Not everybody, but most people feel indebtedness to want to give something back in return to me. And most times, in a lot of cases, I should say, that it's even a larger favor that they return for me. And Zig Ziglar said it best: if we can help enough other people get what they want, we will get everything that we want. So if you take that mentality to just give and be a giver and help other people, they are just other folks, and it's just going to naturally happen that they're going to want to help us back in return. And if it's not them, it may be someone else. And especially if we're doing it without the expectation of receiving anything, it's just going to naturally happen. And if you can just be seen as the person who's always giving and giving and giving, it's just naturally going to come back to you. And for me, I do that naturally. This law is just a natural one for me. That's why it's probably the one that resonates with me the most, because I just do this naturally. And as we go through the other 5 of the 6, and as you hopefully read the book, find which one works best for you, and that's going to be the one that's going to help you be most successful. So that's reciprocity, or the law of reciprocation. The second law of influence is commitment and consistency. So I got my little Chick-fil-A here. So commitment and consistency. What does this mean? Page 57, Cialdini writes, once we have made a choice or taken a stand, we encounter pressures to behave consistently with that commitment. So once I've said that, maybe here's my political affiliation, or here's my my sport team allegiance. I'm a Alabama fan. I'm a Chicago sports fan. This is who I root for. But like, I've made that public declaration. I've made that stand in my mind. I've made that commitment. I want to be consistent with that commitment. I don't want to look inconsistent because, and Cialdini writes this too. I'm trying to read my notes to see if I included this. I didn't include it in my notes, but Cialdini wrote this too. Like, even once we've made that stand or made that commitment, to go back on that commitment, we tend to psychologically view that as self-delusional. It's delusional. Like, we've committed to something, and now to go back on that commitment we tend to feel like it's delusional, so we don't. And often we don't. I wrote this is on page 58 and page 59. Often we don't go back and change it because we don't want to be seen. People who go back on their commitments are seen as delusional. They're seen as like just crazy. They're seen as insane. So it's like, oh, that person right there, he was a big advocate for this, and now all of a sudden he's not. Now all of a sudden he's an advocate for this other thing. What happened? What's wrong with that guy? That's weird. We have a negative connotation with that. And inside of us, we realize that people are going to think that about us. So oftentimes we won't go back on our commitments, even if it means, this is on page 59, even if it's causing us to act in ways that are clearly contrary to our own best interests. So once we've kind of figured out that, I took this stand, I've committed to this one thing, I want to stay consistent with that. Because if I'm not consistent with it, people are going to see me as a loon. They're going to see me as a lunatic. They're going to see me as crazy. So oftentimes we are going to stay committed to that thing, even if it's contrary to our own best interests. I just think that that's fascinating. So I try to think of how can we use commitment and consistency as salespeople. There are certain very specific things that we can do to get people to commit to one thing. And I've got highlighted page 71. I think it's a story, yeah. So for the salesperson, it's page 71. For the salesperson, the strategy is to obtain a large purchase by starting with a small one. Almost any small sale will do because the purpose of that small transaction is not profit, it's commitment. It doesn't matter that it's almost like Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels and the value ladder that he talks about. We just want someone to commit to maybe Russell Brunson's famous for the free plus shipping model. He wrote a book and, go buy my book. It's free. Just pay shipping. Oh, and then as soon as you pay that shipping, there's that one-time offer thing that blinks. Hey, and for just an additional $10, get this. So it's so important that we as salespeople get someone just to commit. This book, this free book that I want you to get is so awesome and so irresistible. It's an irresistible offer. I want you to go get that book. And when you go to the page, oh, well, you just got to help me with shipping. It's like $5 or $6. You know what? All right, what's $6? Well, what that did is, even though that's not profitable for Russell Brunson, he loses money for you to only pay $6. What it is that's not the purpose of it. Almost any small sale will do because the purpose of the small transaction is not profit, it's commitment. Getting people to commit to this one thing, to your belief that, hey, this book, my teachings, my funnel, my sale, my value ladder, I've got you committed. You've already put your credit card in there to pay for the $6 shipping, and now I'm going to hit you with a one-time offer. Hey, one time only. This thing's usually $100, but for now, get it for $20. Maybe you'll get the audio version or the workbook that comes along with it, or about a free or a 15-minute consultation. I don't know, something. So now you went from a $6 transaction to a $26 transaction. And now guess what? They've captured your information. So you've committed. And now, now you might get hit with a couple of warm-up emails, and that third or fourth email you get might be a $99 offer. It's the value ladder. Keep going up in value. But the beginning part of that funnel is to only get you committed. That's the purpose of it, just to get you committed so they can get you in that funnel, that sales funnel, to get you to commit to something else down the road. So think of ways that this applies to your real estate business. How can you get a potential seller that you're talking to just commit to one thing? Just maybe committing to, hey, do you agreeing that this is a $5,000 roof, and that's agreeing that just the roof needs to be replaced is a win. Agreeing on what the value of the property is a win. Agreeing on certain things, just getting them to agree and getting them to commit to that agreement is huge psychologically. All right, so we're going to keep going. We've got the law of reciprocation. I keep wanting to say reciprocity. Reciprocation, commitment, and consistency. And now we've got social proof is number 3. And I love social proof. Is probably my second favorite behind reciprocity. Social proof states that one means we use to determine what is correct is to find out what other people think is correct. So the law itself is what one way that we use to determine what is correct is just to find out what other people think is correct, okay? The actions of those around us will be important in defining the actual answer. So what other people think is going to be my truth. Okay? So if everyone's raising their hand, I'm going to raise my hand. Remember, did your mom or your parent ever ask you or say to you, if everyone's jumping off a cliff, would you jump off a cliff too? Well, you know what? According to psychology and according to social proof, the answer is yes. If everyone is doing it, it is way more likely that I'm going to do it too, because I'm going to think that it's something I should be doing. Why do you think cults exist? How do you think cults exist? How do you think they get one person to drink the Kool-Aid, then they all drink the Kool-Aid, right? Social proof. One person did it or many are doing it, then it must be right. Then it must be true if they're all doing it, right? Remember in the old days, or maybe not in the old days, maybe some old RIAs that I still crack on, they get people to run to the back of the room. If 1 or 5 or 10 people are going back there, well, dang. If 10 people are doing this, then everybody must be doing this. What's going on, Mitchell? Got some other people joining us. Mitchell, I'm just kind of in a zone here, just going through this.
Go ahead, man. Don't let me interrupt. Have at it.
So we're on social proof, the law of influence. Page 118, since 95% of the people are imitators and only 5% are initiators, people are persuaded more by the actions of others than by any other proof that we can offer. And this is social proof. If everybody's doing it, then it must be true, and I want to be doing it too. Page 149. The principle of social proof states that we use information about how others have behaved to help us determine proper conduct for ourselves. So if everyone is dressed, that's why you always ask, well, what's the dress? What's the dress going to be like? If I'm going to this event, is everybody going to be wearing a suit and tie? Is everybody going to be wearing jeans and flip-flops? How should I dress? You want to adhere and abide by the social convention. It's just natural. It's natural psychological law. So I always want to think of, all of these we're trying to apply to our real estate businesses. How can we make social proof apply to our real estate businesses? Well, what about testimonials? If one person bought from you, and you paid cash for their house and one person bought from you and you get them on camera saying, yeah, Brian made me a fair offer. Mitchell made me a fair offer in my house and it was a great offer and we took it and they closed in 10 days or 7 days and we got our check. Here's our check and we're super excited. We're this is awesome. And you get enough of those testimonials on your We Buy Houses page that they're going to hear, oh, Brian made a fair offer. Oh, man, well, they closed in 7 days. Oh, man, they did it with cash. He got his check right then and there. And it's in an attorney's office where they're recording this, so it must be legit. Man, if that person did it that way, then surely I can do it that way too. Why do you think if you go to, we talk a lot about Tom Kroll and Wholesaling Inc. Tom mentions almost every single day, every video he puts out, he says, it's the nation's #1 real estate coaching program. We have more testimonials. If you can find another coaching program that has more reviews than us, then go with them. Why does he say that? Because when you go to his page and it's endless, you go to his page and you click on testimonials, it's endless. You can't even it takes you 10 minutes to scroll to the bottom. If there are that many people that say that this thing's the best, then it must be the best. It must be the best. So here we go. We're going to move on to number 4. Going over the 6 laws of influence. We've got the law of reciprocation, commitment and consistency, social proof, and then with our last 3, liking. Guys, people have to like us. People do business with people who they like. If they don't like you, they will not do business with you. It doesn't matter if you have the best price, if you have the best product. If they don't like you, people will literally go somewhere else and pay more to someone who they do like. Likability is vital in no matter what business you have. We most prefer to say yes to the requests of someone we know and like. We most prefer as a society. It's a psychological fact. Dr. Cialdini has done study after study after study on this stuff. Psychological fact. We most prefer to say yes to the requests of people that we know and like. It doesn't say we most are likely to say yes to people who have the best price, the best product, the best service. It's not any of that. We're most likely to say yes to people we are familiar with and that we like. So what, and again, there are many, many studies here. What are the factors that go into likability? What are the factors that cause one person to like another person? Because if we know that people do business with people that they like, how can we get people to like us? Here are all the different ways. And some of these are easy. Some of these are going to be hard. Some of these are going to be impossible to do. But you need to understand this and do as many of these as you can. Number 1, and it's by far and away the number 1 form of likability, is physical attractiveness. That's right. Do you look good? Are you dressed good? What do you look like? Are you if you're a guy, are you clean shaven? Are you dress nice? People tend to, for the most part now, people tend to gravitate more towards that professional looking, good looking person. So how can you apply this in your real estate business? Are you showing up on appointments without taking a shower, without shaving, without dressing up, without putting deodorant on? Are you doing these things? Physical attractiveness is one thing. And this is where I'm going to put a caveat on physical attractiveness is his second thing here is similarity. So I just got done saying, are you shaving? Well, what if you're going on an appointment in certain parts of town? What if you're going on appointments? I know when I go into like a Vestavia, I'm here in Birmingham, when I go into like the ritzier areas of town, I know that I'm dressed in a certain way. If I'm going into the worser parts of town, then I'll dress down. I'll dress down a little bit more. I don't want to drive, I don't want to drive a BMW necessarily. I want to be driving, my old truck. I got a Camry and I've got an old Toyota pickup truck. When I go into the bad parts of town, I drive my old Toyota pickup truck because of similarity. I want to be seen as similar. But when I go into the better parts of town, I want to drive my Camry. I want to make sure it's washed. I want to make sure it's cleaned out on the inside. I take all these things into account when I go on appointments. Comp number 3. These are all the different ways that people can like you. Physical attractiveness, similarity, compliments. Are you paying people compliments? The information that someone fancies us can be a bewitchingly effective device for producing return liking and willing compliance. So just the fact that you say, hey, you know what? I like you. Hey, you know what? This is a great house. Oh man, you've done a great job taking care of this property. Man, just offering people compliments is very important. So I wanted to name those top few things because I think that it's important when it comes to likability. But do not downplay likability. Just don't do it. All right, here we go. We're going over the 6 laws of influence, reciprocation, commitment and consistency, social proof, liking, and number 5 is authority. Authority. This is really important, really interesting. This is an interesting chapter. This is where I think a lot of really crazy studies and stories that Cialdini tells, and it's insane. It'll blow your mind. You need to read this section for sure. I obviously can't go over all of that, but I want to point out just a couple of things on authority. It makes great sense on page 218. It makes great sense to comply with the wishes of properly constituted authorities. It makes so much sense to comply with authority, in fact, that we often do so when it makes no sense at all. So, and he said that after he just got done telling this insane story. And I'm going to try to remember it and try to recount. I just want to tell this one story because it's so unbelievable. So they're doing a psychological study and inviting people in to take part in a memory study. And when they get 2 people together, again, these are supposed to be 2 people that don't know each other. They come in. One is going to be the person who has to memorize a bunch of stuff. The other person is going to be the person testing them on the memory. So they're like one person, the person who has to be who's trying to remember stuff is hooked up to a shock machine, a voltage machine. And if they don't remember stuff, they're going to get shocked. And it starts on like 15 volts and it goes up in increments up to like 400 volts, like crazy. The other person, it's their job to test them. And if they get it wrong, they're the person that has to shock them. So, and then there's the person of influence. There's the person doing the study is in the room with the white lab coat on, is the person of authority, the person with the lab coat on. So the first one is, like a 15 volt shock is like, it's like a little tiny pinch, it's like nothing. Like you barely even feel it. But after a few of those, it's like, it gets, crazy. It's like, this, all right, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. After about the 3rd or 4th shock, I don't want to do this anymore. Well, they're like, they don't even respond. They just keep asking the next question. They don't actually acknowledge that this person's in pain. They just go on to the next question and they stay hooked up to it. And the person shocking them keeps shocking them. And it keeps going up and up. And finally, it's to the point to where it's like they're screaming in agony and they're still shocking them. Why? Why would they still keep doing it? Would you still do it? Would you still shock this person 400 volts? Well, they did this study and it was like crazy. It was like 80 or 90% of people kept shocking this person even when they were in just absolute agony and screaming, all because the authority figure in the room kept saying, keep doing it. We keep doing it. He agreed to it. Keep doing it. And he kept telling him to do it. Well, it turns out that the whole study was kind of, the person in there doing the shocking was real, but the person who was getting shocked was a staged actor. So he wasn't actually like getting shocked or getting hurt. But the people kept shocking him all because of this authority figure in the room. And it's just insane. So that's why this quote that I read, it makes great sense to comply with the wishes of properly constituted authorities. It makes so much sense that we often do so when it makes no sense at all. So it makes no sense at all that he would keep shocking that person. But we kept doing it because of that authority figure in the room. Once a legitimate authority has given an order, subordinates stop thinking. They stop thinking in the situation and start reacting instead. So there are lots of stories in here. There's the story of the pharmacist. Oh my gosh, it's insane. My wife is a pharmacist, and so I told the story to her, and she thought it. She's like, "There's no way I'd ever do that." So there's the story of the pharmacist where the doctor wrote the prescription. The guy came in, had an earache or something, wrote a prescription and said, "Insert in our ear." Like as in right ear. Insert in our ear. So the pharmacist gets it and interprets it to be insert in rear, our ear, right ear, rear. So they're like, why would we insert this earache medicine in someone's rear? But they did it anyway because of the authority of the doctor said to do it. And it didn't make any sense at all. But they still did it because the authority of the doctor, they thought on the prescription said, insert in our ear, right ear, rear. It's insane. It's insane. So how do we apply this to our real estate business? Authority. How can you have authority in your real estate business? Okay. Certain things, and we just kind of talked about it with, likability, being likable. Well, are you being professional? If you're a real estate investor, are you being professional? Are you exuding qualities that a real estate investor would exude? Someone who buys houses, are you exuding those qualities? Are you dressing the part? Like to have authority, a lot of times, whether you're a doctor or not, if you're wearing a lab coat, you're oftentimes seen as an authority figure. And butchers wear lab coats, right? Scrubs. I don't think this anymore, but I remember when I was probably about 10 or 15 years ago, I'd see someone in scrubs and automatically think that, oh, that must be a doctor. Maybe a nurse, but probably a doctor. But then I see all these other people wearing scrubs, like freaking dog groomers wear scrubs. What the heck? You're a dog groomer? I'm like, oh, are you a doctor? No. I work at a dog pound, and we groom dogs. But that's what I'm talking about with authority. You exude authority by sometimes things that you wear, the speech, the things that you say. How you say it, what you say, where you live, what kind of house you live in. You're a real estate investor. What kind of house do you live in? What kind of houses have you bought? I want to see all these things. I want to know all these things to understand that you have true authority. And now the last one we're going to go over, here's number 6. We've talked about the previous 5. Reciprocation, commitment, consistency, social proof, liking, authority. And here we go. The last one is scarcity. Scarcity is very important. The rule of the few. So page 238 here. People seem to be more motivated by the thought of losing something than by the thought of gaining something of equal value. People seem to be more motivated by the thought of losing something than by the thought of gaining something of equal value. Do you ever remember, I just remember this, like the girl that I wanted to break up with in high school. And I broke up with her, and then she immediately started dating someone like right after I broke up with her. And then all of a sudden I'm just like, wait a second. Wait, what just happened there? That guy is now dating her? I kind of want her back now. Have you guys ever thought that or felt that way? You give something up and then someone snatches it up immediately and it makes you just think, did I do the right thing? If they snatched it up immediately, I must have done something that I shouldn't have done. There must be more to that than I thought. It happens all the time. It's the rule of scarcity. Okay, the influential law of scarcity. If there is very few of something, we want it. Have you ever seen like on, I don't shop on HGTV, but like, not HGTV, what is it? The Home Shopping Network. I don't even know what it's called. Yeah, Home Shopping Network or QVC. That's what I was looking for. You see the countdown timer and it always says units left or how many they have left. And it keeps like going down and dwindling down. Why do you think they do that? It's like, it's scarcity. Oh, there's only 100 left. We've already sold 900. There's only 100 left. You better get it. I only have 3 seats left in my boot camp. Has anyone ever heard me say that? I've only got 2 seats left. It's true, by the way. I don't do that like lying, but have you ever heard me say that? I've only got 2 seats left. Well, somebody might be thinking, man, if I don't snatch up this seat, it could be gone. So guys, the rule of scarcity. How can you use that in your real estate business? Well, I use this phrase a lot when I'm on appointments, or really I do it when I'm on the phone more often. I say something like, I'm looking to buy just a house or 2 this month. I literally say that. Looking to buy just a house or 2 this month. I'm a real estate investor. Looking to buy just a house or 2 this month. I would be interested in making a cash, or would you be interested in a cash offer for your property? I always say things like that. I'm only going to buy a house or 2. Yours could be the one. Or on appointments, you go on an appointment and, I can only buy 1 or 2 houses. I say stuff like that. Whether it works or not, I don't know. But can you think of other ways you could use the scarcity principle in your real estate business? Like literally sit down and be in thought about ways you can use these things and take it away. Hey, my offer's only good for a week. My offer's only good for 24 hours. It's scarcity. Providing an element of scarcity will help with your sales. So that's it. That's what I wanted to go over on this kind of book review, this little book discussion. Mitchell, you still on the line? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Brian. Man, I love this book. And I missed the first part of this conversation through the first few chapters. I was really wanting, I hope you replay this or send it out, because I was really wanting to know how some of this other stuff could be worked into our everyday business and how we pitch things. But man, this was a great read. There was lots of science behind it, and some of the stories and some of the things they do are just, it's, absolutely crazy. And I got,
woo-hoo!
Yeah, woo woo. Yep, that's the life I live. Man,
awesome, man. Well, go ahead.
I love the book, man. I'm not quite done yet. I'm finishing up Social Proof, so I haven't quite finished it yet. But I'm reading it cover to cover, and I can't wait. I hope you send this out, or at least send it to me if you recorded it, please, because I want to hear the first part as well. Yeah,
we're gonna put this out on the podcast. I'll probably have the video up on YouTube for sure. So yeah, man. No, I appreciate it. Yes, this is the most influential book that I have read in business, just because of the elements that you can very easily apply to any business. And I use these. I literally sit down and think and meditate on certain aspects of some of these laws and how can I apply that to my real estate business? How can I apply that to REI Live? How can I apply that? And here's the thing, and this is something I didn't really touch on that Cialdini talks about, is there's influence, and influence is fine, but there's two ways to see this. There's persuasion, and there's really nothing wrong with persuasion. Like persuading someone to do something, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But the evil cousin to persuasion is manipulation. And that's where that's where you have to draw the line. And you have to understand the difference between persuading someone. Like, I literally have 2 seats left in my boot camp. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. But what is wrong is if I had 20 seats left in my boot camp and I said there's 2 seats left, that's manipulation. that's using it in a manipulative way. And I've never fallen into that. Don't want to fall into that. I want to use this. This is like, it's almost like, I'm not in the superhero like cartoon or movies and stuff, but like you can use this for good and you can use this for evil. It's that kind of thing. Like this is the kind, and people use it for evil every day. People dress up as police officers, and people dress up as certain people to impersonate in order to get something, bank robbers, all sorts of different ways to get what they want in a illegal, immoral, kind of way. But if you use this for good, you'll make a lot of money. You're going to make a lot of money no matter what you do. So love this book. I appreciate Mitchell, you jumping on. I appreciate all you guys who've watching the replay of this and listen to it on the podcast. We love you guys so much, and we will see you next time.